So, welcome to this this webinar on building the ultimate hockey athlete. I'm Tom Drowley, and I'm the founder and director of Nth Degree and head coach, I suppose. And what we're looking to do tonight is to provide you guys with as much value as we can. So we want to teach you and enlighten you on what it takes to build the ultimate hockey athlete. So we're going to start with that, and then going to go not only what the ultimate hockey athlete is, but how you go about building it. And then, with your permission, tonight I'd also like to talk about how Nth Degree goes about doing that, and the systems that we have based on the experience we have and what we've spoken about how we deliver to our members. And at the end, there's going to be an opportunity for Q&A, and also an opportunity for people on the call to let us know if they would like to work with Nth Degree and find out more about that. So lots of things going on, but let's get started with building the ultimate hockey athlete and everything that entails. So first up, I've given a small introduction, but sometimes I can assume, because of Instagram, things like that people know the history in the game and who I am to be talking to you. But I think it's always important that if you're going to sit down and hear this information, you should know where the information is coming from. So I've got 18 years working in elite sport, across many different sports, starting in rugby, and the predominance of my career, as you can see, has been in elite and international hockey. So over a decade, 12 years in international hockey, with experience at 2 Olympic Games, 2 World Cups with both men and women, 3 European Championships, and 1 Asian Games, in addition to many others. As you guys all know, the hockey calendar is ongoing and varied, and having worked in the UK and in Asia, I've been to a fair few tournaments. So firstly, to talk about my time in hockey, so you can see where the credibility there comes from, I worked at England and GB hockey, or GB and England hockey, from 2015, 18 months before the Rio Olympic Games, until 2021 at the end of the Tokyo Olympic Games. So I obviously experienced some great things in terms of, you can see top left, that was the women's team winning gold at the Rio Olympics. I also worked with the men in the build up to that Olympics. And that was a really important experience as well, because they went into that tournament really flying, and I thought they were going to do really well, and they didn't. And so it's an important thing to mention, because sometimes we only celebrate the successes, but I've won gold medals, silvers, bronze, and come last. And that's an important part of the story. You can see bottom left here, this was us in Tokyo, having won bronze, beating India in 44 degrees of heat, to stay at number 2 in the world. So we started in 2015 at number 2 in the world, finished then as well. And this is the staff team we worked with. And you can see here, okay, I've got a medal around my neck. We don't actually get medals as staff, but it was nice for the players to lend me it for the photo. But you can also see me here at the Home World Cup, struggling to work out what went wrong. In 2018, we didn't have a good tournament, but as people say, you don't lose, you just learn. And that was a big learning experience. I then went on to Malaysia, and from 2022 till late in 2024, I led their men's, women's, and junior programs. And this was a massive learning curve and a brilliant experience, and a great chance for me to test myself about whether what I'd learnt and then enacted at GB and England hockey actually worked elsewhere, if it was just situational specific. As it works out, we had great success. Obviously, there could have been more. We won the Sultan Aslan Shah Cup. We won 3 matches at the World Cup, first time in 21 years. We instilled some brilliant behaviours, which we're going to talk about, in the Malaysian team that weren't there before, and just engage with a brilliant group of humans. And I strongly suggest, if any of you really enjoy your hockey, get over to Asia and either play if you can, or go over there and watch. It's a fantastic experience. And now, Nth Degree Performance. So we provide elite level physical preparation anywhere on your terms. And that's exactly what we do. It's taking all our experiences from years in international sport and other sports, and bringing it into players who may not have had access to that, but also not being limited by location, it being a remote service for anyone, anywhere. And we've got players all around the world. So that's been the last 2 years, and a serious learning curve in all senses. But we'll get into that now. So that's me, and that's who's talking to you. Hopefully that provides you with a little bit of trust that actually what I'm going to talk to you about, I've got a bit of an idea about where it's coming from, but also really keen to get some questions at the end if you want to ask them. So what are the demands of being our ultimate hockey athlete? it's one thing just saying you are an ultimate hockey athlete, but what are the demands that are placed on a player that's at that level? So firstly, there are physical demands. And look, hockey is deliberately fast. We've got 60-minute match, 4 by 15-minute quarters, 2-minute quarter time, 10-minute half time. So again, for some of you as hockey aficionados, this is teaching you to suck eggs, but it's important to realize that these were brought in to make the game faster. There are 11 players per team, 10 outfield and 1 goalkeeper normally. There are rolling substitutions, 5 to 7 of them, depending on which tournament you're in. There's no offside, self-pass free hits, breaks in play for set piece, goals and stoppages. Now I can hear the contradiction already. You said it was a faster game, but there's loads of breaks. Yes, and the breaks make the game go faster. Rolling subs with breaks in play, with a synthetic surface, with a water-based pitch and a hard ball, and growing technology in terms of sticks and everything to do with that. This is a seriously fast game, and it's been designed that way.
I think, without talking too long, I think all the time from a philosophy point of view, I've enjoyed playing the game fast. I've enjoyed playing the game direct. And that ultimately means speed and having players run, having players repeat sprints with and without the ball. And that hasn't changed. I think from the moment I started coaching 25 years ago until now, lots of rules have changed. Lots of rules have made the game faster. But at the end of the day, the game for me is about speed and just playing what we've called the last few years, from a GB and England point of view, relentless hockey.
So for those of you who don't know who that is, that's Paul Revington, 2011 World Coach of the Year and former GB and England men's head coach. He was also my roommate for many years when we worked together on the GB and England women's team. And many a match was spent, well, in the evening. At the match, we were at the match and we're doing our jobs. In the evenings, we were often roommates. S&C coach and assistant coach often get paired together, and we would sit there watching films, having tea and biscuits. I'd be doing the GPS, he'd be coding the game, and we would talk long and hard about the world of hockey. So firstly, a good friend. Secondly, one of the leading coaches in world hockey, and the reason that it's getting so fast. Hockey techniques require repeated, intense movements through extreme ranges of motion and abnormal positions. Just look at the pictures on screen right now, and you can see simply passing the ball has the body completely contorted in all kinds of ways. Whether you're a men's player, a women's player, whether you're playing a slap pass, a slider, whether you're doing a push pass off your left foot, whether you're doing a reverse off your left foot, whether you're spinning around the goalkeeper to flick it past in the shootout, whatever you're doing, whether you're doing what Kieran Govers, another one of my roommates, is doing there in terms of just knocking the ball ahead of an Indian player who is absolutely at full reach trying to take the ball. You can see it's an extreme sport and it's abnormal positions we're asking players to get
Indeed,
into.
and it has to be, I say, hockey specific, the areas that require targeting. It's not just a generic program that players should be receiving. They from a hockey point of view, most actions, if you're not sprinting and you're sprinting upright, you're executing multiple hockey movements in low body positions. Often those low body positions, which are related to techniques, are being executed at high speed. So your body has to be able to cope with that. Being able to go from upright to low, to holding a low position, to executing a pass or a shot vertically at full pace. And these aren't movements that you're born to do. They're not natural movements.
Well put by Revs. Now, goalkeepers, you may be on the call thinking, wait there, they're talking about outfielders again, they've forgotten us again. Absolutely not. Goalkeepers are required to explosively hit the most extreme positions and ranges of motion in order just to be effective. Their movements and demands are completely unique compared to outfield players. So some of you may be starting to go in towards preseason or the off season into the preseason right now and noticing again that goalkeepers are getting treated like extra outfielders with their training. Absolutely shouldn't be the case. Look at the demands. Look at the positions here with two fantastic goalkeepers, by the way, David Hart and Maddie Hinch. hitting the most extreme positions with skill, and oftentimes having to move out of those positions into another one. And that's just to be effective in the position. It's a prerequisite. It's not a nice to have. So you can already see with all this how difficult it is.
Hockey's brutal. Like it's hard on the body. It's a total body sport, and all of those changes of direction, at speed, the repeat sprints, getting down and into low positions to make tackles, to slap the ball, to push the ball, to maybe drag flick the ball. You know, they're all causing a lot of stress on your body. So making sure you've got a good foundation of robust strength, really focusing on all those exercises that the physios and the strength and conditioning coaches, you know, really want you to do. It's for a good reason. It will help you stay fit, stay healthy, kind of keep building on the training that you're doing to help you perform better ultimately at the end of the day.
Kate Richardson-Walsh, you can see her bio on here. You've probably heard her on commentary all the time as well. Four-time Olympian, double Olympic medalist, captain of the team that won the Ron Gold, and was in the sport when it wasn't in the centralized program, and knows what had to be done even as a decentralized, non-professional player to also make it to the top. So this isn't just about players that have been in the castle of centralized programs. Preparing for the unique demands of hockey, it requires sport-specific physical preparation. You've got execution of complex skills involving rapid changes in height, speed, body positions. It's all incredibly demanding, and it is constant. And skill execution is in combination with high metabolic fatigue and game speeds, which produces this unique challenge of not only doing the skills themselves, but doing it when you're under all kinds of duress. And what you've got on the left here is, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's quite complicated, but just so you know, this is the Nth Degree Performance return to play framework. And what you can see here is all of the factors that have to be developed, from introducing it, making sure someone could do it okay, to level 2, someone doing it at maximum intensity, to then level 3, having to do it at maximum intensity under fatigue. And that's in locomotive events, getting from A to B, multi events, changing direction, all the way up to competitive hockey. It's a really, really tricky thing to get ready for. But the point being in this, that anything you want to execute safely, repeatedly, or to a higher level, is underpinned by a player's physical capabilities. So if you take any isolated skill, learning a new skill, a sequence of play, or a team tactic, it will relate back to physical capabilities. I cannot stress that enough. It always pins back to that. And that's not to say that the skill isn't the most important thing. It is, but it's underpinned by physical ability to be able to do it. So what does the ultimate hockey athlete have? This is what we came here for, isn't it? What is the ultimate hockey athlete? So what do they have that other players don't? So outfielders first. Goalkeepers, it's good to know this because you can hold your outfielder friends to account when they're not doing this. What everyone needs: high aerobic capacity. Players at every single level will spend large proportions of matches and training at high percentage of their maximum heart rate, which means there's a high aerobic demand. So everyone needs a high aerobic capacity. What the best have is high maximal aerobic speed. So the technical jargon for this is the lowest speed you can run at which you are at the maximum of your aerobic capability. So what's the lowest speed you get to when suddenly heart, lungs, blood, the whole oxidative aerobic system is at its red line? So also known as, how fast can you run when you're aerobically maxed out? This is what the best players have. They don't just have a good aerobic capacity to keep going. They can run fast when they're at that point, and other players can't. You have to be where the game needs you to be. I don't care what anyone says or how skillful a player is. If you can't be where the game needs you to be, I don't care what your skill set is. You're not impacting the game. You're not a good hockey player. What everyone needs: repeat speed ability. And so the technical definition of repeat speed ability is the ability of an athlete to recover and maintain maximal effort during subsequent sprints, movements, or game-specific actions. So basically, what's your max? And when you do these repeated efforts, can you hold on to as much of it as you can? Now, for average players, or for most players, what people get really excited about is, oh, my last effort was really, really close to my first effort. I've got a really low drop-off. And that's awesome. That's great. Well done. However, what the best have is huge initial efforts. The best players are faster than you. The best players accelerate more explosively. They decelerate and stop harder. They have coordinated and accurate movements at high intensities. So if you want to be impactful in the elite levels of hockey and be the ultimate hockey athlete, you need to have something worth recovering from. There's no point glorifying your drop-off if the first thing you did, yeah, anyone could be a diesel engine. If your first effort wasn't fast and you didn't drop off from it, well, it doesn't matter, because a tired fast player is going to beat you to the ball anyway. And that's what the best players have.
Biggest physical differences between, say, a high level and a low level. There's probably a couple of things on an aerobic level to start with, being able to maintain an aerobic capacity for such a long time. High intensity actions, this top speed that you can get to and maintain, the explosiveness in and out of a turn essentially, or if you turn the ball over, you're having to sprint maybe 50-60 yards back. Can you do that consistently? That's probably the couple of the biggest ones.
For me, the difference between competing at a high level and a lower level is the intensity at which you do everything. I think high intensity, the repeat intensity sprinting, the high accelerations, high speed running, I think that's the difference. I think if, for example, I was to drop and play at a lower level, I think the meters per minute or the meters I cover in a match would be fairly similar. But I think at the highest level, just the intensity in which you're doing everything is the biggest difference.
I think the biggest challenge for me of playing hockey at the highest level is the repeated high intensity efforts that you have to do. I think a lot of players can do the first rep, the second rep, but as your legs start to get tired, it's being able to do the fourth rep, fifth rep, sixth rep, but also being able to concentrate and also do what you need to do and do your job. So it's in those moments where you're really tired, you need to do the high intense efforts, but you also have to be thinking clearly and calm under pressure.
Goalkeepers. Here we go. What everyone needs: large range of motion and flexibility. Keepers, you've got to hit some extreme positions, which means you need large range of motion and flexibility to hit those positions. What the best goalkeepers have is huge active range of motion. The best goalkeepers are not only flexible, but they are strong and able to control movements, even in the most extreme ranges. When you're in the splits, when you're going to the corners and you're in deep smother positions, or you're completely contorted, you still need to have control of your body and be able to actually make proactive movements and make a difference, rather than just being there and then unable to get back up. There's a huge difference between being flexible and active range, where you're a functional goalkeeper in those ranges, even at high speeds. Look, what everyone needs is, you need to be able to make saves in all directions with varied techniques. You need to be able to save left and right with your feet, with your pads, with your hands, with your chest, whether it's diving, whether it's kicking. You need to be able to do that, and every goalkeeper should be able to do that. What the best have is the ability to complete accurate multiple actions and saves from unbalanced and suboptimal positions. Now, what do I mean by that? It's all very well being set and then making a big save. Normally, or what could happen against better teams as well, is you'll have second actions that come at you very, very fast. So can you make that save and then be ready for the next one incredibly quickly? Or if any of you remember the really famous, or I think it's famous, save that Maddie Hinch made against the USA in the shootouts, she was completely off balance and moving and still able to make an extremely good save from a completely unbalanced position. She got the outcome from a completely unbalanced position. And that is what the best have. They don't just do it once, they do multiple, or they can do it from unbalanced suboptimal positions. And that is trainable. That's not just fluke. So what everyone needs as a goalkeeper is repeat speed or repeat power ability. So the ability to repeat explosive movements, even under fatigue, within training and moments such as shootouts. So remember, shootouts, 8 seconds in length, and it's repeated depending on how many times it goes. When you're having to move with pads, sprint out to players, move with them, everything like that, that's important. But also in training, sometimes goalkeepers get absolutely peppered. If you're in small-sided games, or if you're in shooting drills, you're having to repeat these movements and you're being judged on what you're doing. So it's actually really important to be able to have this repeat speed ability as a goalkeeper. Similar to the outfielders, though, what the best have is their initial efforts and their explosiveness is off the scale. So what they can do and what they're recovering from, and what their starting point is so much higher. So the best goalkeepers move faster, they move further, and in less time than the rest. And just remember, the extreme moment is training when you're getting peppered with shots. The extreme moment is shootouts when it goes through multiple phases of that. Most of the time, it's going to be single or double actions, which means the more explosive you are and the faster you can do it, and with more skill from either stable or unstable positions, the more effective you're going to be as a goalkeeper. And having worked with some of the best in the world, including Maddie Hinch, I can tell you this is absolutely the case. If you compared her to any other female goalkeeper, regardless of their reading the game, they just didn't have and don't have Maddie's physical capabilities when it comes to this. So what are the training demands? So this is a little bit different because everyone thinks about matches and competitions, but what you've got here on the left, and again, I'm not going into too much detail on it, this is the training load, total distance and work time, so how long people were working for in the training blocks leading into the Asian Games that I did with Malaysia Hockey. So you can see how it was double day, these huge blocks of training going all the time. And training is where you improve as a player and as a team. And that's where you earn selection. So don't worry about the competition. You've got to perform to be selected. You don't get to perform once you've been selected. The ultimate hockey athlete is available, improving and impressing during grueling training blocks. This is only on the graph on the left. This is only the on-pitch volume. If you then added the additional strength and conditioning and club hockey, which oftentimes these players also have to go to on top, you can start to see how hard it is to cope. The best players not only cope with the volume of training, but they excel at training and are able, with the physical bandwidth they've got, to make improvements in their physicality during these grueling blocks as well. So what are the competition demands? As John Hurst, the GB goalkeeper coach, I think former GB goalkeeper coach and team manager, always said, it became a team mantra: always win your last game. And the reason for that is that you've got so many varied competition demands, but it all depends on what your last game. So one match in one day is every match you ever play, or a league match where you're just playing once on the weekend. 2 in 2 could be a double header, or within a tournament, there's often 2 in 2 formats. Pro League now, for example, oftentimes is a game on a Saturday and a Sunday, or a Tuesday and a Wednesday. 5 in 7, that's the equivalent of the Olympics group stage before you even get to knockouts, or the Euro Hockey Championships, where you're playing top quality teams in every match. 6 matches in 14 days is the World Cup. 8 matches in 13 days is the Olympic Games. So the girls that won 2016 gold won their 8th match in 13 days. When we beat India in Tokyo to win the bronze, it was our 8th match in 13 days in 44 degrees of heat. And the reason you always win your last game is, one, it's normally the medal match. Secondly, recovery is so much better when you've won.
Shona McCallan, Olympic, European and Commonwealth Games champion. The biggest physical challenges of playing hockey at the highest level are the ability to repeat your physical output again and again and again. Often in league hockey, you'll play 1 match, maybe 2 matches a week, but in international hockey, you'll have to play back-to-back matches, sometimes 3 matches in 4 days, 5 matches in 7 days, 8 matches in 13 days if you're at the Olympics. So it's all very well and good being fit and fast, strong, ready, on it for game 1, but you need to be on it for game 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, because that's where it really matters.
And when you're winning a medal, this is just it in visual form for you. You go to hockey players don't go to the Olympic opening ceremony because the game starts straight away. But you can see the razzmatazz of all of that. Straight away, you're into it. You've got your first match. You've then got your second match the next day. That's a 2 in 2. You've then got another 2 in 2 a few days later. And then you've got your final group match, which was a 1 in 1. Every single one of those matches, by the way, is a 1 in 1 because every match counts. When you then get to the end of the week, that's 5 matches in 7 days. But then you go into the knockouts, and the biggest match of the whole tournament, the quarterfinals, because if you win a quarterfinal, you've got 2 chances to win a medal, 1 in the semi-final and 1 either in the final or the bronze medal match. But you have to be on it for every single one of those games. And look, that's the Olympic level, and we're talking about the ultimate hockey athlete. All of you on this call will have your own competition formats where you're having to try and compete and win and succeed. And every match is important. And every match, by the way, if you're going to the TA Festival, for example, in a few days, if you're in the UK, the Talent Academy Festival in Nottingham, the coaches could be watching you at any moment. So if the scouts are watching you and you're on your off moment, chance is gone. So how do you make sure you're always on it and able to compete to win the medals? Because that's where they're won. They're not won on the first day. Yet so many people want to be fresh for game 1. They forget about being battle hardened and ready for game 8. These are all the different factors that you get as well as a hockey player that other people don't think about. People think about total distance, doesn't really make any difference. High speed running meters, massive difference. High intensity accelerations, huge. High intensity decelerations and all these, huge. Total repeat high intensity efforts where you're repeating multiple actions in a very short period of time, absolutely massive and game changing moments. And this happens in every single game. But there are hidden demands of competition. Travel before and within competition is grueling. Pre-competition training and practice matches. What you can see over here on the left is, again, with Malaysia going to the 2023 World Cup, actually all of the sessions on the left of the dotted line were before the tournament started. And that included 2 or 3 practice matches plus training. And then the tournament started. People don't think about that. Within competition training sessions, coaches get nervous, they put on another session. Don't know why they do it, but they always do. Match day warm-ups and performance routines are getting you ready for the match, but they're also grueling in their own sense. They take up energy, time on feet, and mental energy. Team and individual meetings, they are so grueling. Mental energy is energy. So when you're going to these things, it's draining you. Media commitments. Now, for some of you, you do that to yourselves because of your social media commitments, and you add stress to what you're going on with. My suggestion, don't do it. Academic and work commitments. Hockey is not a well-paid, fully professional sport like football. A lot of people that are playing in development squads, aspiring elite players, or even fully elite players are still in work or also have academic commitments. Players must be ready for it all if they want to be a winner, because it's not good enough to use excuses because there's a queue of people waiting to come in and take spot, or another team that just want to take it all away from you. You've also got the ongoing competitive schedule. Now, this is one example from 23-24, which I thought was crazy. You had club and league plus EHL. You had international pro league before the new year. Then you had Olympic qualification event in January. Then you had pro league, but club and league finals were going on and EHL. Then the Euros kicked in. Then they had pro league, and then they had the Olympic Games. And all of those are important in their own way. So hockey is played all year round. Players must have the physical bandwidth to not only compete in the tournament they're in, but it's no good going to that Europeans in 2024 and not having the bandwidth to do a bit of physical work to get ready for the Pro League. It's no good going to the Pro League and not being able to do physical work to get ready for the Olympic Games, because that's where funding's won. But all the other stuff before it's really important as well. Physical drop-off within competition cannot happen. You cannot have it where you're dropping off, you're peaking for that event, and you start to go off the boil. You have to win your last game or every game of the tournament, and you have another training or a competition block coming straight after. So what does the ultimate hockey athlete have that others don't? They have the ability to turn physical capability, their potential, into physical performance when it counts. They have the physical capability to successfully compete in every match across a whole competition and win their last game. They don't just perform in some of them. They're in it for the whole thing, and they're going to be going hard at you in that final game. They have the experience and the behaviors needed to cope with all the demands of competition, both hidden and not hidden. They know how to deal with media commitments. They know how to do extra training sessions. They know how to talk to coaches or manage their energy levels in and around meetings, or they just know how to soak it all up and move on. They have the mindset, the behaviors, and the physical bandwidth to simultaneously compete with everything they've got, but also prepare for what's coming next, both mentally and physically. And that means sometimes doing physical work during tournaments, ready for the next tournaments. So what are the behavioral demands? Physical demands of hockey as a sport are that they're super high and they're wide ranging, and they need to be developed through effective training if someone wants to be the ultimate hockey athlete. You can't prepare for all the multiple facets of the demands of hockey, and no one has all of it naturally. It has to be worked on, and it's impacted by how you train and when you get in and around your hockey. The competition demands of hockey are constant and sometimes chaotic, and they're certainly varied in terms of formats, where they are, location, time of the year. The ultimate hockey athlete thrives in all formats of competition because otherwise they won't get picked. And that's how selection is made, and that's how you also become a top player, is that you're winning almost everything. And they're turning capability into performance in those as well. The effectiveness of your physical training and your ability to thrive in all those competitions are both underpinned by your behaviors. Let me just stress that. If you want effective training that's going to work, it's going to improve you, you've got to have great behaviors. If you want to thrive in competitions of all different formats and make sure what you can actually deliver happens, it's underpinned by your behaviors, which means the behavioral demands on the ultimate hockey athlete are just gigantic. That doesn't come for free. You don't just say, oh, they've got good behaviors. It's like, no, that comes at a cost, and it comes with practice, and that's what they have. So the effectiveness of physical training development is underpinned by your behaviors. Your ability to thrive in competitions and turn capability into performance is underpinned by your behaviors. High performance behaviors underpin everything. Okay, and this is what you're not going to get on Instagram, on YouTube, on, oh, hey, hockey players, do this exercise. So what? What is that exercise? What does it even mean? Where does it come from? The most important thing are the behaviors that go around that training you're going to do, the behaviors that go around when you go to competition. But who's teaching that? Where's that coming from? The ultimate hockey athlete has it and uses it and has it consistently at their disposal. Because even at the top of the sport, you won't have this great big staff machine like they do in other sports, telling players what to do and guiding them around so they don't have to make decisions. They're just basically going, we'll just tell you what to do. All we ask you to do is do it. Like, you won't have that fixing your thinking and your habits. And especially as an aspiring player who's not yet in the system, like hockey as a sport is a poor sport. So only the players at the very top have enough funding to actually train on a professional basis, unless you're playing in Europe, and then you've got to be really one of the very, very top players. Look, this is not football. You don't have academies that have all these support staff. As a hockey player, you have to learn this and do it on your own, because that's all you've got. So what does the ultimate hockey athlete have in terms of this? So they have elite athlete behaviors, and they have elite athlete behaviors that maximize the effectiveness of their physical preparation. So their physical preparation is not only done very well, it's amplified because of their behaviors. They also have behaviors that really help their in-competition physical performance. So in the moment, either reducing the negative impact of something or amplifying the positive effects of other things, so that their performance on the day is as good as it can be. It's never perfect in competition, but as good as it can be. And they also have behaviors, and this might be one I need to explain, but they have behaviors that maximize the system they're working in. Why that's important is, if you go to a university, you need to have behaviors that maximize your ability to make the most of that situation and to work well with the support teams that are around you. If you're at another place that has different ways of doing things, you need behaviors that can adapt and work with the situation as is. If you play in Australia in the one league, then you come back and you play club, and then you go to international, and then you go to Hockey India League, it's a different system every time. So you need to have behaviors that help you work within the system that's there. The ultimate hockey athlete, this person, is responsible for their own behaviors and standards and the consistency with which they are displayed. No one else is responsible for that. They know which behaviors are needed to match the situation and the outcome that's needed, and they need that, or the outcome they need to achieve, and it is normal for them to act in that way. A lot of people try and rise to the occasion and increase their behaviors when something important's coming along. The ultimate hockey athlete just does it as normal and is committed to the process and knows they're responsible for it, but has also practiced it enough that it's just normal. It's going to happen every time. And with all of this, whether you've got physical demands, whether you've got competition demands, behavioral demands, ultimate hockey athletes have the things that others don't, because that is what they focused on. It isn't luck. It isn't something you go, oh, well, they just got that naturally. Well, how do they have everything then? How do they have physical demands nailed, the competition demands, and the behavioral demands? It can't be the case. They are what they continually do. And that means you are what you continually do. So what you put your focus into with the right guidance ends up being what you become. But if you don't focus on it, and you didn't know you need to focus on it, you can't become the ultimate hockey athlete. So look, your turn. I'm not going to ask anyone to speak up on camera or on the microphone. That's for me to do. I won't put anyone on the spot. However, just take a minute right now to go, what do you not have that the ultimate athlete does have? Now, you can either share that in chat if you want, or you can just note it down where you are. But I just ask you to have an honest reflection from physical to competition to behavioral demands. Where would you struggle most, and what do you not have that they did? And have you been focusing on it? And if you are focusing on it, or if you wanted to, do you actually know what to do to get there or to become the ultimate hockey athlete? So just take a moment. I'm going to have a sip of water. Don't worry, I'll turn the mic off so there's not a big gulp sound. But just take a moment to actually think about that, and then we'll move on to the next section. Or watch the recording, pause it, and do the work then. So moving on. How do you build the ultimate hockey athlete? We've talked about what it is, or what the demands are. How do you actually build it? So firstly, you've got to follow the physical preparation hierarchy. And this has been developed through years and years and years of work at GB hockey and also in other sports. And you're seeing it now in Women's Super League. You're seeing all kinds of other sports, because the people that were there in the high performance system are now moving into other sports. And what you've got in here is we start with a pyramid always at the bottom with the foundations, and you have to be training ready. Now, training ready is no joke. Training ready status is maximizing your availability to train repeatedly at the intensity and volume required to improve as a player and as a team. So if you're looking to play at a higher level of hockey and you want to be available for every session so you can improve as a player and try and get picked in a higher level team, that's going to take some serious physical capability and some training, because the higher level you go, the more intense, the faster it becomes. You've then got tournament readiness. That's where you can ensure that you're able to survive and thrive in the varied competition formats that you need to succeed in. So firstly, were you training ready? Were you there? Did you get selected for the tournament? Next, can you actually deliver at the tournament and deliver success, not just survive it, but actually go there and do well? And then at the very top, you've got amplify. And that's where you're targeting physical characteristics which allow you to improve your game and make the step up in level needed. Now, I might actually in the future look at that again, because it says about making the step up in level needed. If you're not training ready and you can't train with the players that you want to compete with and be in their team, you can't step up in level either. But amplify is about taking your game, once you're battle hardened, training ready, tournament ready, actually focusing on what might take you to a higher level in terms of performance. And this gives me a bit of a chance to give an example of my time at GB hockey just after we'd won gold at Rio. And Danny Kerry, who is, at that point as well, was so on it with everything that was going on, and almost immediately after the games was looking at what was going to happen next. And his observations were that although we won, other teams seemed to have fleet of foot. They were faster. They were winning the race when we weren't. So he wanted the squad to be just as robust and durable as they were, which was their USP, like their unique selling point that got them the gold. But he wanted them to be faster as well. And he wanted shared hardship. He wanted all the players to do the training together, and he wanted them progressing towards the same goals. So the destination was the same. They had to be done at the same time, but he wanted it individualized. Now, at the time, I gulped, because this was going to be challenging. We had a gold medal winning team. I've got a gold medal winning coach, and he wants individualized programs done at exactly the same time so everyone can see each other's work, and making people faster with no increase in resources and no increase in either my staff or time put forwards for this. Pretty daunting, but we were gold medalists. So, I had a pretty good starting point. And this was the team. Look at them. They're in fantastic shape. They were absolutely battle hardened and good to go. Other than the fact that this was the squad reality that we inherited. We had some gold medalists in here, some brand new players. We had people in complete different kit. We had people that had been on holiday, people that had been away. It was a complete hodgepodge of players, but also a really important situation where the physical prep hierarchy really kicked in, because everyone on this page was in a different place and needed different things, that had Danny's same target, which was everybody get faster. Everybody do it together. Make sure it's individualized. But here's who you've got. This was our squad destination. This is where we got to in Tokyo 2021. We had a team that outran the Indians in their own environmental conditions, super hot, and actually had fantastic physical capabilities. So we did get there, and we did go through that process, and that's what gives me real faith and confidence, knowing that actually having that system, that hierarchy, can build towards what you need, as long as what you're doing is individualized and follows those principles. Because the destination may be the same, but the journey is always different. So he wanted everyone to get to a certain point. You may want to get to the highest levels of hockey. Your journey will be different. So individualized and tailored plans and programs are just essential. You can't have the same plan as someone else, even though you're trying to get the same destination, because you and your circumstances are different. Identify the end destination, assess the individual, train and monitor the individual, and then you'll get faster, more effective and efficient results for the whole group. Yet what we tend to get is most systems just provide generic one-size-fits-all programs, hoping that something sticks from all of it, because everyone needs to improve the same things, don't they? Well, hope is not a strategy, and you pay the price. Whether you're a player on this call or whether you're a parent on this call, going to a system where they provide a generic program means it's the wrong program for everyone, and it's not as efficient as it should be. And you're being tasked with, well, why didn't you make that improvement? Is it your effort? You're not committed? No, it's a generic program. High performance behaviors. High performance behaviors have to be developed over time and progress towards increased ownership and independence. And you can see that from what we spoke about before. In terms of, you're not in football. You're not going to have people mollycoddling you and telling you, you've got to own it, because you're going to be on your own when you're going to these different places. And when you make that top team, you have to be independent and take ownership, because no one's going to look after you on that. And look, you cannot be what you cannot see. And this is really important. It's the quote was for something else, but it's really important on this, that for this context, the behaviors just have to be modeled. You can't adopt behaviors that you've never had. Well, firstly, you've never had. Firstly, you've never had named. You've never been shown them, and you've not been trained in how to use them. But environments, coaches, and role models must display the behaviors, they must educate players, and they must hold them to account in order to embed them. But how many environments actually have, look, for all the best will in the world, how many environments actually have people there that even know what the essential elite behaviors are? Because they've not been to elite events, they've not been to the high performance levels that to actually know what the behavior is and how it plays out and how you need to act. So it's super important on this, that before I move on, actually, that as parents, as coaches, as players, you need to be surrounding yourself with people and looking for environments where people can model the correct behaviors and have experience in knowing which behaviors are actually going to help you get to the top. And then they need to have the guts to hold you to account, because without the skills or the education to do it, without the role modeling, and then without being able to account, those behaviors aren't going to stick, because they're not normal. High performance is not normal. And what we've got here is, going back to my time in Malaysia, I worked with a brilliant group of people, humans, with really poor behaviors. But that wasn't through a lack of will. That wasn't because they were bad people or sloppy. They'd never had it modeled to them. They never had it shown. And so we had to take them through the types of behaviors that they had to display. But what I learned pretty quick over in Malaysia was, you cannot just take a replica of a behavior and plonk it into a new environment, a new culture. You have to take the theme, the principle, the type of behavior it is. And what we made was the Malaysian performance system, where we took Malaysian culture, Malaysian norms and habits, and we turned that into a performance system, rather than going, here's the European system, you must do it. So that was a fantastic experience of actually seeing that in action and seeing the resistance to it as well when I got it wrong. Competition focused strategy. These are strategies that maximize your hockey physical performance when it matters most. They maximize your tournament readiness so you can cope with the demands of what's going on there, but they also help you get ready for the fact that you're going to be developing ongoing physical capabilities while you're at those tournaments. The long-term preparation, that's commitment over time so you arrive in superior shape. Nothing beats time and good training to do that. You train how you want to compete by being ready earlier so you can master game plans and win selection. Any players on here that peak for a tournament, just remember, selection is not at the tournament. Selection happens before. You want to be playing and competing with your peers way before that. You want to ensure that you're available. So you want behaviors that prevent you from breaking down and physicality that prevents you from breaking down when it matters most. In the short-term build-up, you need physical discipline, you need strategic discipline, you need mental discipline, and you need social discipline. And these are all things that can be shown and that you can plan with people in order that they have a much more successful tournament experience and they're able to turn capability into performance. For example, on the social discipline one, making choices that are optimal for performance that may feel uncomfortable to those not at your level. So that's either with family members or friends that just aren't involved in hockey, or your own teammates that actually just aren't as ambitious as you, and it feels so socially awkward to not do what they're doing. But that's what helps you in the short-term build-up. In the moment, pre-match routines or pre-match performance routines that optimize physical state, in-match routines and behaviors that maximize effectiveness during play itself, and then post-match, what's your immediate recovery and preparation for the next event, which is coming, whatever just happened. How quickly can you turn around? So look, again, either do this now or looking at time, we're going to move on with this, but look at this when you look at the recording and just ask yourself, where do you need the most support? Like, where in that system about how to develop the ultimate hockey athlete, where's lacking for you? And what is and isn't being provided within your environment right now? Because if it isn't being provided, you need to make sure that you find an environment that is providing it. Otherwise, you cannot be what you cannot see. And you cannot develop the things that are needed for the highest levels. But if you have got it, that's fantastic, but it won't be everything. So what are you going to do about it? So look, with your permission, having gone through what the ultimate hockey athlete is and then also how you develop it, I really want to show you how we do this at Nth Degree Performance. So you can see something in action or see if we walk the walk rather than just giving webinars with on Canva. And this is what we do. This is our Nth Degree Performance genius model, our system to develop the ultimate hockey athlete. And it's based on 3 core outcomes. Maximize physical capability for the individual, for the sport. Elite athlete standards and helping people develop those needed for training and competition, and competition strategy and execution that a player understands and can execute. And they are driven by the 3 main drivers, which is tailored physical preparation, and they are accelerators on the outside. So tailored physical preparation is driven by or accelerated by profiling players, programming for players in an individualized way, and monitoring their progress. We then have another driver of high performance behaviors, which is about education and about accountability and turn that into skills for players. We then have competition focused strategy, which is where we assess, we execute those plans and rehearse them, and then we reflect on them and refine what we do. So hopefully you can see from what we've spoken about from the ultimate hockey athlete, you can see how this all comes together. If I'd shown you this straight up, you'd be like, wouldn't have landed in the same way. You need tailored physical prep because you need individualized programs. You need high performance behaviors because behaviors underpin how well your training goes and how well you do in competition. You need competition focused strategy because otherwise you've got all this capability and it won't turn into performance. So we're turning generic into individualized. And that means profiling players. So we do onboarding, profiling players, taking into account constraints and context, taking their objective based on the demands of the game and who that person is and what their profile is, then making a plan and monitoring it and refining it as we go, and then reevaluating that plan and then going back to the athlete profile that may have changed, hopefully has changed for the better, and then reestablishing objectives, knowing that demands of the game never change. Okay, and that's how we operate, either with new members where we onboard and do self-assessments and introduce them to the systems, or existing members where it's an ongoing cycle of this sort of thing. We profile players because we want to understand you as a player, as an athlete in your unique context. So questionnaires, gym competence assessments, speed and change direction using AI and assessing it to get you technical breakdowns, locomotor endurance tests and injury risk factors. We then program based on your physical needs, your training expertise, your schedule, your goals, and your reality. So again, it's basing this on you and basing this on what you need, because generic just doesn't work. And then we monitor it. And this is a bit that I think gets lost and would definitely get lost with other online programs, is that, yeah, have your program, but how are you getting on with it? Did your context change? You know, what's your daily wellness looking like? What's your training scores? What's your remote jumps and lifting diagnostics looking like? Are you improving on that? Do you have weekly and monthly check-ins that we can review and help you with and learn from your challenges and your wins? But again, with all of this, this daily wellness training score, taking remote diagnostics and actually doing monthly and weekly check-ins are behaviors that you're going to need when you go to high performance establishments. If you're a US scholar, you're gonna need this. If you're going into the EDP or going into international programs, you're gonna need this because they want to assess you and see where you're at. If you've never done it before, it's a hell of a shock to the system. We also want to take you from amateur to elite, and that's where elite athlete standards come in and teaching you high performance behaviors. And again, look, this is just one example here of how we help players maximize every session they do. We help them prepare in the best way. We help them do, and we help them adapt to what they just did. So behaviors that allow you to attack the session, behaviors that during the session allow you to execute optimally, and also maximize your intent. And then behaviors that maximize the body's reaction to what you just did. There's no point doing training if it doesn't turn into a positive impact on your body and a development towards better things. You can see on the bottom all the different types of behaviors that come with that. And we have courses in place so that we can teach people everything that would happen at a centralized program so that you can then not only watch it once, but take it away and then implement it. And actually, you see there's another person who's called Megan, who's got physical prep below her name. Is one of our physical prep coaches that will be literally doing that, looking through what people are doing and helping hold them to account and helping them teach them the behaviors that go alongside the training that we set. We take guesswork and we make you game ready. So competition focused strategy is ensuring the intention, the direction of what we do with you go towards turning your physical capability into performance when it matters most. Gaining selection, that's a performance. In competition performance, obviously that's a performance. Back-to-back events. How can you back up one event and get ready for the next one with no drop-off or actually maybe even improvements? How can you deliver a breakthrough season? So you didn't just have one good bit of the season, but actually it just grows and grows and grows. And that is how you really establish yourself on the top levels. Because people are like, they're not a flash in the pan. This happens again and again and again. And so here we have a few Nth Degree success stories, which I'd love to go into in a second. But firstly, just to talk around, we've got Ollie Foot on the left. Ollie is now at Nottingham Trent as a sports scholar. He's in the England EDP, Elite Development Player Program, and he wasn't when he joined. And he's a goalkeeper who really bought into what we did. He was on his own. He got let go or not selected for the 18s because of physical reasons, and he took the ownership on himself to join and learn about how to do it and take on what we told him. And he ended up, as we'll go through in a second, achieving his dream goal of singing the anthem against Germany. We've got Summer Risley here, who's from Cornwall and way out of the main system and out the M25 hub that often gets, always seem to get most of the resources. Summer came to us with great intent, great work ethic, but on her own and seeing all these other players getting all these resources. And she wanted to she wanted to play for England. And what's amazing right now is that Summer is currently on tour with England as a starting player, playing against all these international teams, having started in Cornwall with Prue, her mum, coming on calls with me and just trying to work out how can we make sure that Summer has at least a good chance compared to all the other players. She's turned to an absolute physical beast. It's been brilliant. And then we've got Marissa on the right. And Marissa is a German player. She's trying to break into the German under-23 system and break into the full Bundesliga over in Germany. She's been with us for just over 12 weeks and has had some amazing gains in terms of she was training really hard and putting all the hours in, but because it wasn't tailored to her, needs, her competition schedule, and she didn't have the behaviors to actually apply her training in a sensible way throughout the week and know what to do when, so she couldn't execute it properly. She wasn't seeing the gains, but now she's seeing major gains in her 16 pitch length score. Her speed times have improved. She's been getting comments from the coaches about continued improvement in the season, and now we're continuing her attack going into the off season. So what I'm not going to do, it's coming up to 9 o'clock now, and so I'm not going to go into too much depth on all these stories, but I'm happy to, when I send out the recording, I'll send out a PDF as well so you can see their stories and where they've gone. But it's all using the Nth Degree system to create the ultimate hockey athlete. Just so you know, none of them are there yet. They're all on a journey. And even the best players I've ever worked with, like Barry Middleton, Alex Danson, they were never, in their minds, ever towards the ultimate hockey athlete. They always had more to do. I would say they were pretty much up there. But there's always improvement to make. And the players, any player that we work with, is always on a journey from where they are towards the ultimate hockey athlete, because that's what it's all about, the journey of going there. But at least the players that we're now working with have this guidance around tailored physical preparation, elite athlete behaviors from the very top of the game, but applied to their circumstances, and competition-focused strategy, either for the Eight Nations tournament that's going on right now, or the TA Festival that's coming up, or the end of Bundesliga and going into the off-season, or our adult players that are getting ready for the brutality of pre-season coming up so they can have a breakthrough season coming up. Hopefully that's given you a good idea about what the ultimate hockey athlete is, how to develop it, and also at Nth Degree how we operate on that. What I'd be really keen to do is, in a second, I'll stop sharing. What we'll do tomorrow is there's going to be an email sent to you, which is going to have a recording of this call, and I'll try and get the PDF to you as well so that you've got the slides to refer to. There's also going to be an opportunity within that for those of you that this has really resonated with, and for those of you who the stories on the screen also resonate, in terms of either goalkeepers that want to get to the top level, players that are geographically stacked but want to play England, or players that want to take their game to the next level, train like hell but aren't making progress, but want that support and a team in their corner. If that resonates with you and you want to be the ultimate hockey athlete, there's going to be an opportunity to apply to be an Nth Degree member or to book a call with us in order to see about membership options.